All right, well, we're getting started here. Welcome, everybody. Tonight is my opportunity to be your host and moderator for the National Habits of Health Support Call, or Habits of Healthy Support, we're going to call it tonight. Maybe you've heard my story before. 7 years ago, I started the Take Shape for Life program and lost 100 pounds and transformed my physical life. And then I was invited to become one of the health coaches, and I was a little intimidated with the idea that I would be helping other people to get healthy because I struggled from my entire life. You see, I've never been, prior to the age of 35, I was never at a healthy body weight, ever. So I never knew what health looked like, and I was being invited to become a coach, and that was quite intimidating to me. But I knew that I couldn't keep quiet about what was given to me because my life had been transformed, and so I nervously took on the opportunity to become a health coach, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I've had a chance to coach about 650 people through the program, and that number grows every month. And I've had a chance to work with about, a couple hundred health coaches and all the clients that they've worked with. So I've seen a lot of lives transformed. And I'm going to share some insights with you. You may be a brand new client and you're just plugging into the first time, or maybe you're considering becoming a client. Most of the content that we're going to share tonight is going to be applicable for everybody. We're going to be talking about habits of healthy support. But if you do have any information that you take away from tonight, you might want to go back and talk to your health coach and make sure it's a good fit for your particular program. The agenda tonight, we're going to talk about the benefits and the barriers of healthy support. We're also going to just go through Chapter 18 of Dr. Anderson's Habits of Health book. This is the course curriculum, or the health coaching course that we guide ourselves through. It's a self-study course. You may not have this book, but if you don't have it, I would encourage you to get it. It's a great resource, and it's something I highly recommend to every one of my clients. And I just think that it's got all the information you need to transform your physical life as well as your mental life. And then if you help other people to do the same, it could transform your vocational life and your financial life. I'm also going to ask them for some tips and ideas from some of the participants in tonight's call so we can have a little dialogue and you can share what's working for you in your support system. So you may have not known this. I know it was kind of a surprise to me, but Dr. Anderson provides this little triangle inside of Chapter 18. It's on the first page of Chapter 18. And he doesn't have the question mark in the support category, but he says this quote, and I think it's important to read this and to really think it through, because many of you have thought that the eating was the problem, or that the sleep was the problem, or the exercise is the biggest, critical, most important thing you can do to incorporate a healthy lifestyle. But it's not. Support. Having a support system is the single most important thing you can do to incorporate and maintain the habits of health, and that's according to Dr. A. Many of us came into this idea of getting healthier, and we had kind of a junk food brain. Maybe because you've been on the program for a while, all you can think and see is green. It's lean and green, everything. And maybe you've gotten to a point where you're starting to think different, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to stay that way forever if you have not really developed a support system, because, as many of you understood, the power of association is extremely strong. It's got powers that are almost superpowers. It can almost be a Marvel comic. And if you spend time with people that are unhealthy, that think like the picture here on the right, where it's got a lot of junk food in the brain, and you're not hanging out with people that think and value health, it's a pretty good chance that your willpower will begin to dissipate. And if you haven't learned the skill power and the thrill power around associating with people of like-mindedness and health consciousness, you're likely going to fall prey to some unhealthy choices. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be all burgers and fries. You may just decide to calorie creep about 100 calories a day, and you may slide away from some of your exercise or slide away from your motion. I know that in my life, when I started reading about Dr. Anderson's book and I started thinking about parking farther away from the grocery store and parking farther away from places, I was really fired up about that. My 3 kids and my wife, Not so much. They didn't like that idea. And so then it became kind of a part of conflict. And I'm not a guy that loves a lot of conflict, so I started giving in because I didn't want to walk alone. I didn't want to make it to be where it wasn't, they were doing one thing, I was doing another thing. And I tried to do it on my own. And, it got to the point where it was just a real battle. And I stopped doing some of this stuff in my early stages of the program, in my early stage of transition, because I wasn't morally supported, really strong in this area. Looks like we got somebody that came off of mute here, so we're going to mute somebody here. If you've taken yourself off of mute, make sure you put yourself on mute. And if you're dialing in on a phone, the mute is *6, and that'll help us to keep the call quality at the best. So this is where I want to ask some participation from those of you that are watching here live or listening in. I want you to take a sheet of paper out, if you have a pen and paper, or if you've got a computer, and I want you to write down the 5 names of the people that you spend the most time with. Husband, wife, grown kids. I'm not looking for necessarily young kids under the age of 13 or 14, but I'm talking about, who are the adults or grown kids that you spend the most time with. Co-workers. If you could name off the first 5 people that come to mind that you spend the most time with, could you just jot down their first names? And then what I want you to do is I want you to evaluate their habits. I don't want you to evaluate their health in terms of their weight, because you may be, or you may have friends that are skinnier than you, or you may have friends that exercise more than you. But I want you to think about the habits of health. The 6 major areas are healthy mind, healthy eating, healthy motion, healthy sleep, healthy support, healthy stress management. In those areas of the habits of health, would you say that those individuals are healthier than you or practicing healthier lifestyle habits in comparison to you? Or would you say that they're unhealthier? They're not practicing the habits of health on a consistent basis in comparison to you. So I want you to give them a plus or a minus. If they're right in the middle, you can just draw like a vertical line and say they're about the same as I am. So everybody just take a moment and write down the 5 names of the grown adults or grown kids that you spend the most time with. And then I want you to put a plus or a minus next to their name based upon their habits, not their physical weight, but are they practicing a healthier lifestyle and practicing the habits of health more than you, less than you, or about the same as you? So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to have some participants that are going to jump on with me, and I'm going to ask them for some feedback. So Andrea, did you get all 5 of yours done? Unmute yourself, if you will.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Hi.
So your 5 people. Who are the 5 people that you wrote down?
Well, I lead a very exciting lifestyle. My husband, my 2 parents, my brother, and my best friend.
Okay, so you don't have to call them out live here, but out of the 5, how many pluses did you have that were people that were practicing healthier lifestyles than you, and how many minuses did you have?
I had 2 out of 3 were healthier, 1 was equal, and 2 were less.
So 2 out of 3 were healthier, 1 was the same?
Yeah.
Equal. And if you and you said that 2 of them were less healthy. So that's a pretty good balance in terms of your health. And so if you go back to the concept that you become like the 5 people that you hang out with, the chances of you being healthier than all 5 of those people is not likely, because you become like the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So there's a pretty good chance that you'll be better than 2, not as good as 2, and about the same as 1, right? I mean, that's, again, I'm not predicting the future with a crystal ball, but that's based on the power of association. So you have kids, Andrea?
Yes, I do. I have 2.
Okay, so your 2 kids are going to go out there and they're going to go hang out with some friends, and they're going to go hang out with 2 really good kids that you really know are good kids. And then you got 1 they're about the same, and then you got 2 that are real devils, and they really are stinkers. What would you say to your your kids about the time that they're spending with those other kids?
Well, it's kind of like, you are what you eat. You are who you hang out with. And if you don't want to be like the people that you're with, then don't be with those people.
Right. And it is powerful because sometimes those are strong friendships, right? Those are individuals that maybe they've grown up with, or that their families, or maybe they are family. That's tough. That's a tough deal. So now it's coming down to, how do you approach an issue where it's kind of a hard social factor to kind of walk away from a friendship or to spend less time with a friendship. So being a health coach, I know that you've probably experienced this. What would you coach a client to do if they had friends or family members that just were not as healthy as them?
I would definitely advise them to pay attention to behaviors that they found were unattractive or undesirable, and just take note of it. It doesn't mean that they have to isolate themselves away. It just means that they could just take note of it and say, you know what, that's something that I am going to work on for myself. Not necessarily that I'm going to ostracize that person for doing it, but I'm going to work on that for myself.
Right. Be prepared, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be socially not with them. It
Right.
just means that you better be on high alert. When Johnny says you want to go do something dangerous, you better be prepared with an answer so that you're not the only one that's not going, right?
Right.
He says, let's go rob the store. You say, you know what, I'm not interested in that. You better be prepared for that, because there may be 3 other people that are not prepared. And you can fall into the plans of other people if you don't have a good plan for yourself, right?
Exactly.
All right, Mike, I'm going to throw it over to you. What was your total number?
So I had, 2 negatives and 3 positives.
Nice. So in terms of the negatives, we've already had that discussion with Andrea about how to deal with the negatives, but what would you tell somebody that maybe has a loved one, maybe a spouse that is really struggling with their health and is maybe kind of derogatory, or is maybe even ridiculing the person when they make an unhealthy, or when they make healthy choices? What would you say to that person to help them just build their support system?
Well, I think always bringing the healthy option. There's the world is plentiful with options that are not so healthy, and certainly that negativity that's coming from the spouse is an unhealthy option. So counterbalance that with more positive comments, more looking at the vision of where you're going to be rather than where you are, and just always bringing the healthy option, and give permission to others to choose the healthy option as well.
Yeah, and talk about the power of vision, because I know that you've got a real clear vision, but that hasn't always been the case. If a person's listening to the recording of this presentation, or is just checking in for the first time, they're just on the 5-in-1 journey. Talk about how to start with a clear vision.
Yeah, well, I think it starts with falling in love with what you're going to be in the future, and just going there and thinking about, okay, how am I going to feel? How am I going to act? Am I really going to love myself at that future healthy weight, at that future healthy activity, at that future healthy community? And as you really think about that and just allow yourself to fall in love with that, you'll feel more drawn to that rather than what the options are that you have today.
That's great. Laura, I'm going to throw it over to you. Thank you, Mike. Tell me more about your numbers. How many did you have that were negative, and how many positives? Hold on. You got to unmute yourself. There. Now you're unmuted. Go ahead, Laura.
Actually, I've got a very limited amount of people I actually deal with out here. I live out in the middle of the boonies. So my husband is my biggest support. And then I have my...
So would you say that he is practicing a healthier lifestyle?
Oh, yes. Yes, he is my coach.
Oh, good to hear. Well, that's good. That's good to know. So your husband was one, and then who else did you have?
Okay, and then I have one of our clients, and she is on the plus. She is definitely, in fact, she gave me some things about chewing gum when I'm cooking, when I'm chopping and stuff, instead of the food going into my mouth.
Yeah, that's great.
The gum is there. Who wants to put food in your mouth when you have gum in your mouth?
That's right. That's right. So you've got a client, so that means that you're a health coach. And some people would think, well, wait a second. The clients are telling the coach what to do and how to get healthy. I just want to let everybody know, if you think that a coach is an expert, you got
Well, she's a coach now too.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, if people are listening to this recording and they're thinking that they are in a position where they could not coach other people, or they couldn't imagine why a person that was a coach was being given ideas by a client, you have a wrong perspective of what coaches do. My good buddy Craig Blanchett has a great quote, and he says, health coaches are just a group of people that have found that it's easier to get healthier in community and helping other people to get healthier than it is doing it on our own. So you've obviously found that, Laura. Talk about the other two people in your life that are helping you on your health choices besides your client or coach and your husband.
Well, our business and our original coach, my husband's coach, she's the one who started off. She's Bonet, so we talk to her quite a bit.
That's great. So you've got a coach that is coaching you on your journey. You've also got a client who you are supporting on your journey who has now become a coach, and those two people are part of your support system. So that's a great solidifying support system. And obviously, as you begin to share your story and journey with other people, you will likely find other clients that will be part of your health journey. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight, is just the idea of paying it forward and helping other people as a form of building your support system. So thank you, Laura, for sharing tonight. I appreciate Mike and Andrea as well for sharing their feedback. And if you are in a position where you can't even come up with 5 names that are positives, or you can't even think of 5 names, you may be somebody that needs to be stretched in terms of growing relationships. You may need to take a step outside your comfort zone and go to where the magic happens. And the magic happens in relationships. And that may be something that you say, nay, Dave, don't want to do that. I don't want to talk to other people about my health because I've failed so many times, or I've gotten to the point where I just don't, people have let me down, and I don't want to be vulnerable and talk to people about something that is a real tough subject for me. Well, I tell you what, it's going to be a lonely journey, because if Dr. A said that support's the #1 thing that helps people to sustain and maintain, why wouldn't you want to maybe try that? And maybe there's a starting point in the technology world that you could begin to start with more technology using social media or other types of tools. But I can tell you from my experience is that even those people that struggle with a lot of friendships or relationships, they can still grow beyond just their personal health coach, and they can expand that relationship, and they can really open up some doors of some friendships. So why do people struggle with building a healthy support system? Well, the numbers speak for themselves. We live in an obesogenic environment. 67% of most of our family members and friends are overweight and obese. 60% of our family members and friends don't exercise, and 25% of Americans don't get any activity at all. They're called sedentary individuals. Sleep is undervalued, or it's overused, so it's kind of hard to find those people that value the things that we want to value. And stress is accepted as the norm. So if you look at the reality of our world, it's an uphill battle. And in your mind, you may be building up walls and saying, you know what, I don't really have the time to help other people. I don't have the time to attend a support call like the Habits of Health support call. Maybe it's the fact that you really don't want to read the Habits of Health book, or you're fearful of being vulnerable or being accountable to other people. Well, again, oftentimes it's a perspective shift. If you think that that's what this is that we're, all about being the health, the weight loss police, you're wrong. It's not that way. We're a community of individuals that are helping each other to overcome these barriers of lack of motivation, lack of energy, having just the concept of, the cost of being involved in Take Shape for Life. I can tell you for 7 years, I've gone through some ups and downs and all arounds. Maybe some of you have gone through those as well. And there's been times when I've thought, you know what, maybe I should just take a break. Maybe I should just, focus on some other things for a little while, because I wasn't doing so good. But some great advice that I got was that rather than lean away from the Take Shape for Life support, is lean into the support. Rather than, go away from all the value and opportunity and resources, my coach told me to lean into the support, because if you try to go on motivation alone, it's going to be inconsistent. To build a disciplined life, you need to have that extra support. And I don't mean that you need to have some, coach that's out there, really demanding everything from you, but somebody that's there to listen to you. And if you start to expand into the trilogy of optimal health, you can begin to strengthen your support system so that that bridge from an unhealthy lifestyle to a healthy lifestyle is stable, that it's secure, that you can actually get to the other side. This is another image from Dr. Anderson's chapter 18 of his Habits of Health book, and he talks about a comprehensive support system. So my question to you in your own reflection is, how much do you know about Dr. A's Habits of Health? It was quite intimidating, 375 some odd pages with lots of charts and specific information that was a little bit hard for me to understand. I mean, I wasn't really ready for all that. But in terms of the actual support system, I thought, that's probably a book I should read. And, how often are you talking to your health coach? Some of you may have a health coach who's going through a struggle. Did you know that your health coach has a health coach? And your health coach's health coach has a health coach? And all you have to do is reach out for support. And we are a community of coaches who coach together as a team. And regardless of who your coach is, you're not required to only talk to that coach. And if your coach is telling you that he or she is the only one to talk to, that person's probably not coaching in the best possible manner, because we're a community of people that reaches out to each other. But how often are you communicating to your coach? I just got an email today with my coach, and you know what? I've fallen away from being on a regular call with my coach. Sometimes as you grow into a busyness of life, you can kind of get away from it. And so what I did is I just got back connected. I scheduled a regular time. Maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe you need to schedule a regular time with your coach and get back into the rhythm and march on to better health. And there's the play on words. The month of March could be your month to really plug into the support system. How often are you listening to the support calls? There's a nurse's call, there's a doctor's call, there's this Habits of Health call. There's actually a Habits of Health podcast and a podcast for each one of the support calls now. Have you had a chance to visit Dr. Anderson's website? Have you had a chance to be a part of a group, Facebook group with one of your other team members, or with one of your other coaches on your team? Many of the health coaches have Facebook groups that are for support for their clients and coaches. And so how often are you really investing into your support system? That's a question that only you can answer, and only you can decide whether or not you truly value to improve your support. But why don't I give you a couple of quick takeaways? Here's some support systems that I would encourage you to really plug into. And think of it like an electrical outlet. My Android phone, the battery life doesn't last very long. I constantly have to plug it in, constantly, or it's going to die. Well, some of you are so much better, and all of you are so much better than an iPhone or an Android, but you're not plugging in. You're not charging your battery up. You're not getting the support that you need. And so I'd encourage you to maybe take on a couple of these opportunities and reconnect with your health coach. Just reach out to them and just say, I'd love to schedule a quick check-in time, or just a specific time and day where I'm going to report in on my progress, not on what I've lost, but what I've learned and what I'm looking forward to. So I've got some gratitude opportunities. I've got some, learning opportunities. Maybe there's something that you want to pick up in Dr. A's book. Maybe you want to watch the DVD, or you want to listen to the Discover Your Optimal Health book that he has on Audible. There's other resources that you can plug into. Maybe you need to have a conversation with some family members and friends. Maybe you've had some support people that have not been very supportive. Maybe there's some people in your life that have become the food pushers. And every time you get around them, they're pushing things on you. And, hurt people. And you can't pass judgment on the hurt people. You just simply have to organize your life around what matters most. And maybe for you, you need to have a conversation heart to heart with some friends and family members and really tell them what health means to you and how important it is and how you'd really like to have their support. with, a simple conversation, you can eloquently slam them to say, stop pushing your food on me. I really value this, and this is important to me, and it's important to my family. It's important to my future. Help me, join me, do something to really get behind me on this thing. And if they don't support you, I would limit my time with them, because it's only going to be an albatross around your neck. Be a part of a group meeting. Keep showing up to these types of meetings. Ask your coach where there may be some other group support meetings to get there, live. There's different types of group meetings that you can go to hear other inspirational stories. But, as they say, motivation is like bathing. If you don't do it often, your life can begin to stink. And some of you are kind of stinky. You have gotten to the point where you have not done some motivational bathing. You have not read The Habits of Health. You've not talked to your coach. You've not plugged into a group. You've not stayed connected into a Facebook group. And life has begun to stink. You're now focused on the fact that you're just not making progress, or maybe you're sliding back the other way. Hey, you know what? Welcome to Take Shape for Life. Many of us have done the exact same thing. Healthy motivation and healthy support is a habit. That's why it's in the Habits of Health. It's not this extracurricular thing. It's actually a habit of health. And Dr. A says it's the most important habit. So if you're not plugging in, then you are going to run out of juice. And if I was to take an example and I was to say, if I was to take out a light bulb and I'd unplug it from the power source, I'd unplug it, or I'd unscrew it from the lamp, and I'd hold up that light bulb, I'd ask you the question, how bright is that light bulb? Not very bright, right? So if you're not doing some of these support systems that we've provided in the Take Shape for Life Optimal Health community and Dr. Anderson's Habits of Health, how bright would you be, right? Don't answer that. Just blink your eyes if you know what I'm talking about. And the last one I want to challenge you with is the idea of paying it forward. Now, this may challenge some of you to the concept of, what it may mean to actually talk to other people about their health. But as Dr. Anderson says in chapter 18, he talks about the 3 steps to mastery. You study, which can come in a lot of different ways. You do, right? You act it out. And then you model. You actually learn to teach it to somebody else, and you find other role models to model. And I don't know who you're modeling right now or who you are giving guidance to, but if you don't know the habits of health in a way that you could guide other people on it, my prediction is that you're not going to do as well as you could. You may do okay. You may not. Chances are you're not going to do okay, just based upon the environment that we live in. We live in a challenging environment where there's a lot of stress, a lot of lack of sleep, and there's a lot of individuals that are struggling. And just the environment that you're in could prevent you from moving to that next phase in your overall health. So what does paying it forward look like? Well, it starts out when you're first on the journey. You don't know much about the program. You don't know much about the science, but we have a slumber nation. We have a lot of people that are sleeping in an unhealthy lifestyle, and they're unaware of the fact that they're floating towards the waterfall of bad health. And you may say, well, I don't know how to do all this stuff that my coach does, and I don't know how to, I haven't even read that book yet, Dave. Well, we're not asking you to read the book. We're asking you to wake up your neighbors. There's a problem coming. If you had a friend or family member that was floating on a raft going over Niagara Falls, would you say, I don't know CPR? You don't even need to know CPR. You just need to be able to yell. And you need to say, John, grab the rope. John, talk to my guy. We got a big line here and we can pull you to shore. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people that can awaken more people. There's a lot of people out there like Dr. Anderson that can guide people to better health. We just need more alarm clocks that can end up helping people to become awakened to the opportunity of what it means to live in the trilogy of optimal health, starting with a healthy body, progressing towards a healthier mind. And, some of you guys going through some tough difficulties, and you think, well, I better get my act together before I can help somebody else's help somebody else to get their act together. Well, let me challenge you. Maybe the idea is that you need to help somebody else to get their act together to get your act together. You ever thought of that? Maybe the idea is that your current circumstances are in disarray because you don't have a good support system, or maybe because you don't have a structure that could end up helping you to move forward in your life. Maybe your career is a dead-end career. Maybe you just got canned and you got no career. Or maybe you're thriving in your career, but you're not feeling fulfilled. And maybe by sharing your journey and paying it forward to another person could end up helping you to feel more fulfilled. And if all you did was help one person, that may be all you needed. Or you may need to help 5 people, because that helps you. And not only just in the area of fulfillment, but also in the area of accountability and also in the area of finances, because Take Shape for Life actually pays you to support people on the program. And trust me, this is a support call. This is not a recruiting call. I'm just telling you from my own personal experience and from the testimonial of thousands of other people, we found better success in our health. It's actually been proven in an actual success tracking study, and I'm showing it up on the screen here, and you can get a copy of this from your health coach. But health coaches are 6.25 times more likely to have reached their goal weight than people that were not paying it forward as a health coach. That in itself would be a good return on an investment, right? I mean, if you're 6.25% time, that's over 500% more likely to reach your goal weight if you were actually paying it forward to other people. That's why Dr. Ace talks about the fact that support is one of the critical catalysts. And so why is that important? Because people are communicating with other people, just as you heard Laura. Laura's working with her health coach to help her on her journey, and she's now talking to somebody else on their journey, and that's part of Laura's support system. And Laura's not paying that person to coach her. That person, or Laura, is basically investing a little bit of time in a friendship, and that person is basically paying Take Shape for Life for their products, and Laura's coaching them for free. And now Laura's getting free coaching and getting told how to eat gum before she wants to eat something so that she doesn't overeat. That's powerful support, folks. And I don't know where you're at in your journey right now, but I'd encourage you, as we wrap up here tonight, is to talk to your health coach about what it may look like for you to have a better support system and maybe to guide some people on the journey. You might need to create a structural tension chart, and that can just be a simple strategy session. Doesn't need to take long. Just schedule a session with your coach, challenge yourself to expand your support team, and then choose to share your story with others and invite them to join you. It's a 500% chance that you can become more successful by paying it forward as a health coach. You can decide whether or not you want to make that a formality or whether you just want to be a health champion in other people's lives. So I hope that this has helped you tonight. I appreciate you being here, and I wish you guys all the very best in optimal health. I'm Dave Bush. If you like me, tell your friends. If your friends don't like me, find some new friends. They're probably unhealthy, right? See you guys. Have a great night.